periods, it appears that the word is primarily used for general sexual activity which goes contrary to the will of God. Now, we understand that this is frequently something that's subjective, not objective. Well, luckily, our relationship with God is subjective. It's not there to be judged by somebody else. That this is something that we have worked through in our own lives. Now, this is sexual involvement with humans or false gods. Now, what does that mean? Sexual involvement with humans or false gods seems to cover almost everything. But again and again, this word porneia has been described to me as being idolatry. Now, yes, there's an element of really strong truth in that. That any time that we set up a human being, or we set up a pleasure, or we set up something in our world, in our whole mundane world, which we put above God, yes, it's idolatry. But that can be too much of a get-out clause. That can be just too easy, you know? It's not that simple. Our lives are complex beyond belief, which is why the urge is to simplify them into a set of rules. Now, when you break down human beings into individual acts, it is much easier to control those individual acts. But we must understand that when we do that, whether it be murder, whether it be adultery, whether it be called what the King James Version calls fornication, what we are doing is admitting defeat. We're basically saying, well, I don't know what role God plays in this, but I'm going to play a role in this. These things are inconvenient for whatever reasons to the working through of our society. Therefore, we will legislate about them. We will say that God says they are wicked. We may well believe that God thinks that they are wicked. But you're admitting defeat. You are basically saying that the role of God in individual lives cannot be trusted. That God cannot be trusted to communicate to an individual Christian where they are going to be called, where they are going to be led, where to draw the line, where they are going to damage themselves, where they're going to exalt themselves, where they are going to find glory and where they're going to find misery. Now, I don't believe that. I don't believe that we need to admit defeat. I think we need to say very clearly when we are acting as a society to protect the individual and to protect society as a whole. So we need to speak very honestly when we say we are putting such and such in jail for killing somebody. This is a technique to protect our society from the consequences of having a murderer on the streets. But we also have to be very careful when we use that word morality, and to understand that morality sometimes means something very different indeed. The Quakers in some parts of the world now are seeking to tackle the terrible scourge and problem of child abuse before it ever becomes apparent. The Quakers have despaired of a legal system which just seeks to avenge and to imprison and to punish. The Quakers have decided that their Christian call asked them to do something else, that their Christian call asked them to prevent this happening in the first place. That their Christian call asks them to heal the brokenness that results in murdered children, that results in child abuse. And they have set up a very private and very intense and very sincere program in many countries where people who feel themselves tempted to abuse children may seek help before they ever do abuse children. Now, they've come in for the most terrible criticism for this. Terrible criticism. But nobody has come out with any clear alternative to what they are seeking to do. Recently, in the news, the Lockerbie bomber has been much talked about. And there has been a huge furore in many parts of society because the Scottish High Sheriff, I forget what he's actually called now, I think he's the Attorney General, sought to behave in a way differently from the bomber. He sought to behave in a way which had compassion, to behave in a way which was true to the principles which he as a society tried to embody. And instead of just for the sake of vengeance, to see someone die in a prison cell, to say, well, we are going to be better than you were. We are not going to return like with like. On the contrary, we are going to model the sort of behaviour that we wanted from you and which you so cruelly failed to provide. I understand that he, as a public figure, has to take into account all manner of political considerations as well. But I cannot help but think, naively perhaps, and naivety is something which we shouldn't be terrified of in Christianity and in our spiritual pursuit. I cannot help but think that he was honestly trying to be true to his principles, honestly trying to do something different. And if you think of the people in Libya, where there was a well of hatred towards the West, there was an expectation of how the West behaves. There was an expectation of how the West behaves towards the Muslim world. How does this behaviour square in their minds now with what they knew we were going to do and how they knew we were going to behave? Instead of fighting and fighting and fighting, seeking to change hearts and minds has been the only truly effective way, save sheer barbarism, that wars and insurrections have ever been overcome. Suppression in human morality does not tend to work. It misses the point and it distracts from the real issues. We don't have to applaud the whole range of human weaknesses in order to stay focused on the real issues beneath the troubling behaviour, the symptoms of brokenness. We also have to be very careful about flinging opinions about that make people feel identified solely with their vices or with their behaviours. I have to be careful when I stand up here, when I give an opinion, lest the person who is struggling with whatever they are struggling with, whether it be alcoholism, whether it be drug addiction, whether it be sex addiction, whether it be violence, whether it be domestic violence, whether it be any of these behaviours, which are really just symptoms of something going on in the human heart. Whether I speak in ignorance and the person then feels so utterly associated with the thing that they are struggling with that they themselves are being rejected along with the thing which they are struggling with. There are reasons why I will never voice an opinion from this pulpit on issues like abortion. The reason is that I am never going to be asked to carry a baby to full term. I'm never going to have to make that decision. If I say something in ignorance, and through saying something in ignorance become a stumbling block for another human being, I have done something truly terrible. That doesn't mean that I might not have opinions, but I have to be so careful when it comes to voicing them. More careful than my instincts would lead me to be. Our words can come and bite us when we seek to give opinions about which we have no personal experience. But you know, this is why we are so important and why we as a community are so valuable in the whole Christian world on the subject of human sexuality. Because there's the most terrible confusion about what we mean about that. Most people think we're just talking about libido. Nonsense! We are talking about our God-given nature, our inborn nature, which is a gift, which is something to be treasured. Now, I talk about speaking about things about which we have no experience. We as a community, even those who support us, have huge experience on this issue. We cannot keep our silence about it either, because there are a great number of people out there giving their opinions on a daily basis who know nothing about it, who have inherited their opinions on this subject. And even though they do not seek to do violence and to hurt people, because they are voicing inherited opinions, they do violence, and they hurt people, and they act as stumbling blocks, and they lead people astray. Fundamentally, what I'm trying to say is that morality is only moral when it's voluntary. At all other times and in all other places, when it does not flow from inner conviction informed by the divine and the conscience, it's coercion and oppression.